pH perfection. Flaunt your feminine freshness and wetness. What is vaginal pH? Vaginal pH is a measurement of how acidic or alkaline the vaginal environment is. On a scale from 0 to 14, the acidic range includes any value from 0 to 6.9. The alkaline range includes any value from 7 to 14. A healthy vagina sits moderately acidic at 3.8 to 4.5. That acidity is your shield that keeps harmful bacteria and yeast in check while giving your good bacteria, lactobacillus, the ideal environment to flourish and maintain a protective barrier against infection. When your pH shifts out of balance, problems like BV, yeast, odor, and dryness sneak in. In other words, your freshness, wetness, confidence, and pleasure all start with your pH. The below disruptors, and more, can throw it off. Bacterial vaginosis, also known as BV. What it is: an overgrowth of bad bacteria that thrives when your pH climbs too high, between 5 and 6.5. Symptoms: a foul, fishy odor, a thin, white, gray, or green vaginal discharge. Other symptoms may include vaginal itching, burning, and irritation. Causes: unprotected sex, which can introduce alkaline semen, typically ranging from a pH of 7.2 to 8, that raises vaginal pH, diabetes, douching, stress, menstrual blood, as it's slightly alkaline, around a 7.4 pH, which disrupts the normally acidic vaginal environment, making it harder for protective lactobacillus to thrive and produce the lactic acid necessary to keep harmful BV-associated bacteria from rapidly multiplying. Solution: unlike a yeast infection, BV will not go away on its own. I was 19 years old the first time I got bacterial vaginosis. I was a virgin, in college at Howard University. It was embarrassing and distressing because of how much it affected my normal routine and snatched away my confidence. Despite BV being a common vaginal infection that 1 in 3 women will get in their lifetime, and 50 to 80% of those women will experience recurring BV, meaning more than one infection within 12 months. The lack of proper education and respectful conversations around the topic may lead us to believe that we're dirty if we have it, which is absolutely not true. After months of showering multiple times a day, douching day after day, wearing pads and drowning them in baby powder, I finally told my cousin, who was a nurse. I was crying and felt so much shame. She calmly said, "You have BV, I'll make you a doctor's appointment, and everything will be okay." After I got my BV medication, I took 2 pills per day for 7 to 10 days. After 4 or 5 days, the fish smell was gone and I was elated. But that wasn't going to last for long because a few days later I got a yeast infection. At that time, I had been miseducated like many of us, believing if I have a vaginal infection, the logical choice is to go to the doctor. What no one told me was, antibiotics are the leading cause of yeast infections. This happens because Big Pharma is about the comeback, not the cure, as they make money off of sick people, not healed people. If antibiotics actually treated BV for good, they'd lose a lifelong customer. Fast forward, I'm 22, and my BF kept giving me BV. And for years, instead of healing, I was trading one vaginal infection for another, spending 14 to 20 days a month on antibiotics and antifungals, driving from doctors to drugstores in a cycle of disappointment. And my prescriptions had restrictions, as you can't drink alcohol or have sex during that time. Fortunately, I grew up in a family that believed food and Mother Earth is our medicine, so I did endless research to find a safe, natural, holistic way to heal. I learned about the borate mineral, which was put on this planet to purify our pH. I started making vaginal suppositories in 2015, and I have been BV-free since, because I proactively use my V vitamins 2 to 3 times a week. My story is just one example of a pattern women have been dealing with for decades. If you want to purify your pH naturally, the V vitamins are the BV busters you need. Unlike with antibiotics, you can still drink, be intimate, and live your normal routine while using them. They typically eliminate the odor in hours and treat the infection in 3 to 5 days. Yeast infections happen on the opposite end of the pH spectrum. When the vaginal environment becomes too acidic, around pH 3.5. What it is: an overgrowth of Candida yeast, a fungus that normally exists in small amounts in the vaginal microbiome, but can multiply and cause infection when balance is disrupted. Symptoms: thick white cottage cheese-like discharge, intense itching, irritation, and inflammation, as the vaginal tissue and walls swell from yeast overgrowth. Causes: high sugar diets that feed yeast, diabetes and unmanaged blood sugar, hormonal changes from fertility treatments, pregnancy, birth control, menstruation, menopause, perimenopause, and hormone replacement therapy, tight, non-breathable underwear or clothing, excess moisture from sweat or wet clothes, a weakened immune system, douching or scented feminine products, prolonged use of steroids or certain medications, and antibiotics, which are the leading cause of yeast infections. Approximately 75% of women will experience a yeast infection in their lifetime. Roughly 9% will suffer from recurrent vulvovaginal candidiasis, RVVC, defined as 4 or more infections within a single year. I was 12 the first time I got a yeast infection. I turned to my stepmom for guidance and support. Instead of empathy and education, she said, "That's what you get for wearing those tight clothes." Although tight, non-breathable clothing can trigger it. I've been a mermaid and athlete my whole life, and staying in damp clothes too long is what did, and still does, trigger my yeast infections. I don't fault her for her lack of support. She grew up in the 1960s, a time where women had to hide their menstrual products in a brown bag because there was so much shame attached to the normal functions of a woman's vagina. Nor did she have the tools to educate me on my body to facilitate compassionate conversations about feminine health. And let's not forget, her and my school's curriculums were crafted by men who didn't prioritize teaching young women about our own bodies. Nonetheless, it went away on its own after 2 painful and uncomfortable weeks of constant itching, inflamed tenderness, and irritation that made my life extremely uncomfortable. That gap in education is the reason I am committed to creating safe spaces for girls and women to normalize learning about, understanding, asking questions, and reconnecting and advocating for our bodies without shame. I host educational workshops for young girls ages 8 to 14, called My Little Yoni, that teach everything related to feminine health and hygiene. I also offer kiddie care workshops for women ages 15 to 150, covering vaginal infections, hysterectomy, perimenopause, menopause, birth control, intimacy, sex drive, orgasms, and more. These presentations can be booked by schools, organizations, churches, and community centers, families, friend groups, corporations, nonprofits, wellness groups, and youth programs, for virtual sessions or in-person speaking engagements. For more information, email info@vvitamins, and we'll be happy to discuss availability and booking details. Moreover, if you have a yeast infection, the solution isn't an antifungal. We encourage you to part ways with prescription restrictions like reducing the effectiveness of hormonal birth control, multiple doctor visits, messy creams or pills, and being told not to drink alcohol or have sex. The V vitamins are a safe, gentle, and holistic remedy to ditch that itch quick. They typically eliminate itching in hours and clear the infection in 3 to 5 days, instead of 7 to 10 days like antifungals. They work with your body, not against it, providing pleasure-friendly protection, because pH balance shouldn't come with a buzzkill. Urinary tract infections, aka UTIs. What it is: a bacterial infection in the urinary system, most commonly the bladder or urethra, often caused by bacteria like E. coli entering the urinary tract. Symptoms: burning when urinating, frequent urge to pee, cloudy or strong-smelling urine, pelvic pressure, and sometimes lower abdominal pain. Causes: bacteria entering the urethra, sex, wiping back to front, holding urine too long, dehydration, certain birth control methods like diaphragms, and weakened immune function. Urinary tract infections are extremely common. About 50 to 60% of women will experience at least one UTI in their lifetime. Solution: the V vitamins balance the good and bad bacteria and treat UTIs quickly, naturally, and effectively. Vaginal dryness. What it is: a lack of natural moisture or lubrication in the vagina, often due to declining estrogen levels. Symptoms: irritation, itching, burning, pain during sex, and increased sensitivity or tearing. Causes: smoking, stress, insufficient foreplay, kidney disease, dehydration, as well as postpartum hormonal shifts that occur after childbirth when estrogen levels drop significantly, while the body recovers and hormones gradually rebalance. The dryness occurs because low estrogen temporarily reduces natural vaginal moisture and elasticity. Breastfeeding, because the hormone prolactin, which stimulates milk production, suppresses estrogen levels, which reduces natural vaginal lubrication. As a result, many women experience dryness, irritation, or discomfort during intimacy. And studies suggest about 40 to 60% of breastfeeding women report vaginal dryness. Hormonal birth control includes the pill, IUDs, like Mirena, Depo, Provera shot, the patch, and vaginal ring, that prevent pregnancy by suppressing ovulation or lowering estrogen. 10 to 20% of women using hormonal birth control experience vaginal dryness. Certain medications can contribute to vaginal dryness because they affect hormones, nerve signaling, or the body's natural moisture production. Antihistamines, for allergies, work by drying up mucus and fluids throughout the body, which can also dry up vaginal lubrication. Antidepressants, especially SSRIs, can interfere with nerve signals related to sexual arousal and lubrication. Isotretinoin, commonly used for severe acne, reduces oil and moisture production in the body, which can also affect vaginal tissue. Chemotherapy drugs may damage ovarian function and lower estrogen levels, leading to dryness and thinning vaginal tissue. A hysterectomy is a surgical procedure that removes the uterus, often taking the ovaries, which are your body's estrogen powerhouse. When your kitty stops producing estrogen, it gets very dry. Approximately 600,000 women have a hysterectomy in the U.S. each year, and nearly 1 in 3 women will have a hysterectomy by the age of 60. Perimenopause typically begins in a woman's late 30s to mid-40s. It's the transitional phase before her period permanently stops due to menopause. As estrogen levels fluctuate and gradually decline, natural lubrication reduces and vaginal tissue thins. Common signs include irregular periods, hot flashes, mood changes, sleep issues, and vaginal dryness. It's estimated that 50 to 60% of women experience vaginal dryness during perimenopause. Menopause is when a woman has gone 12 consecutive months without a period, marking the end of her reproductive years. It typically occurs between ages 45 and 55. Common signs include hot flashes, night sweats, mood changes, sleep disturbances, and vaginal dryness. Research shows that approximately half of women experience vaginal dryness during or after menopause. Solution: stay hydrated and use your V vitamins as they work wetness wonders that help you maintain a silky, slippery kitty. The V vitamins are your splash secrets to replenish your moisture magic and keep your kitty juicy, healthy, and dripping, as they naturally increase estrogen and the osmolarity of your vaginal fluids, leading to an increase in the production of vaginal secretions. Your V vitamin kitty drippers deliver healthcare to your door and turn your dry spells into a wet wonderland. Go to vvitamins.com to get yours today. Furthermore, I wrote a detailed guide called The Kitty Care Kit, that is your feminine health and hygiene Bible, that teaches you everything from vaginal infections, STIs, sexual wellness, condoms, birth control, vaginismus, endometriosis, fibroids, women's reproductive rights and resources, appointments that could save your life, checkup cheat sheets, the dangers of douching, hormonal shifts, breast and pelvic health, and so much more. It's packed with natural solutions, lifestyle tips, and insider secrets Big Pharma won't tell you. Grab the guide at vvitamins.com and put healthcare in your hands.